All right, I'd like to call to order the Verona Borough Council Workshop Meeting for August 30th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Christine, can you go through roll call, please?
Sure. Dave Matlin,
Present.
Joey Warren,
Present.
Ray Suchovich,
Present.
Sylvia Provenza,
Present.
Trish Redzek Showalter, present. Vince Flota,
Present.
Rhoda Wharf,
Present.
David Recupero,
Present.
Craig Alexander,
Present.
Christine DeRunk, present.
Thank you. Just want to call to attention, we had an executive session on 8/24 Wednesday regarding collective bargaining agreements. We also had an executive session prior to this meeting at 6 p.m. for collective bargaining agreements and personnel. At this time, do we have any emergency additional agenda items?
Yes, I do. For handicaps, that was brought in last week. Handicap.
Is that an action on it?
Yeah.
Is that, are we able to add that? Right,
Is this something that can't wait till the regular meeting?
Well, I mean, I guess it could, but we can wait for the next meeting.
um,
Can I make a motion to add the advertisement of borough secretary position to the agenda
Or a manager's position?
for her manager position?
yes, we will add that.
But she made a motion to add it to the agenda.
Okay, do we need
I
to?
can second it.
Okay, so first by Mrs. Rejek Showalter, second by Mrs. Wharf. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed. That will be added to new business action item.
Yep, that'll be a motion to authorize the advertisement of borough manager's position.
All right. Okay, thank you, Trish. Anything else?
Do we need to allow public comment on that?
We will, when it comes time to agenda items, that's on the agenda now. They're subject to public comment.
Okay. All right, that covers that. Next, we have registered comments from the public. We have 3 registered comments. The first is Tim McKee at 831 3rd Street. Go ahead and please approach the podium. You can state your name and address and check and make sure the microphone is on. I don't know if
There's a button.
there's a button on the
Tim.
top.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry.
not be on.
There's somewhere, Tim. Probably on the side, yeah.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Tim McKee. I live at 831 3rd Street, Verona, PA. I've been a Verona citizen since I was born. So it's 72 years.
Keeping up your age.
And I'm here with other contingency here of 3rd Street. And we're looking to try and get our street fixed, okay? Back to original state that it used to be, not just patch or blacktop. You know what I mean? We'd like the whole thing done over again. That's what I would like. I mean, I'll let these other people speak for themselves, my brothers here, and neighbors, and anyways, that's what I'm here for. We need our street fixed. It's in disrepair. It's been that way for years, and Dave took a ride down it last week. I saw him at the car show here, and asked him to come down and look at the street, and he did. We walked it, and he knows what the situation is. So now you know what the situation is, and we're here all to talk about it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay, next we have Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong, here, Leisure. Okay, regarding the Third Street repair.
Yes, my name's Vicky Leisure. I live at 850 Third Street. My parents, whom I'm actually here representing, I have power of attorney. They're 91 and 92 years old. And they lived on the bottom of Third Street for 63 years. And well, right now, obviously, they can't get around too well. And I live next door to them, which is great. But when I have to take them to the doctors or any kind of appointment, they have to come down off their porch, which is fine. They both have canes, but the street is horrible. It's all torn up. And if one of them would happen to fall, and God forbid, break their hip or whatever, it'd be horrible. Not just for them, for me, for everybody. And that's mostly all I wanted to say is it's mostly for them. Although it is doing the job to my car too. So. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Marcia Boleyn. Did I pronounce that?
She couldn't come, she has that asthma.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. Okay. At this time, council will hear comments from the public on agenda-related items only. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
And as Ms. Redzik Cho would have raised, that does include the agenda item number 10 regarding the motion to advertise a borough manager's position.
So we have a member from Chambers here approaching, you're fine, sir. And then I'll watch for virtually. Anyone to raise it.
Hi, my name is Ellie Cabay. I live at 823 3rd Avenue. I'm actually a newer addition to Verona than my neighbors. And because of that, I think I would like the 3rd Street fixed, but primarily because over the course of a couple months, I've been fixing up 823 3rd Avenue. And the street looking the way it does, it almost subtracts from the work that I'm eventually going to be putting into the house. And overall, it kind of makes me a little upset because it could just be like, a good looking street with everything, including the house, but the current state of it, I would like it repaired. Thank you.
Two things, Mr. Cabay.
Yes.
The first, could you just spell your name for us, please?
ELLIOT KABAY.
Elliot. Okay. Second thing is this is a period of public comment for items on the agenda. There will be a public comment period for items not on the agenda, just general comments at the end of the meeting. But thank you.
Did that not count?
It counted. You did it.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on agenda items?
I don't see any online.
Okay. All right, with that, we will move on to our next item, presentation from consultants. We have the EADS group on the active transportation plan introduced by Trish Redzik Showalter.
Thanks, Mr. President. Christine or Joey, does one of you mind sharing the information? Thank you. I'll just keep this short and sweet. Part of why I wanted to join council is because, like many of us, I wanted to see safer streets and more recreational opportunities within our community. So when I finally became part of council, I was looking for opportunities in line with my objectives, and I stumbled across the Pennsylvania Walkworks program. This is a no-match grant, and it's an initiative between both the Pennsylvania Department of Health and the Pennsylvania Downtown Partnership. And it provides grants to municipalities like ours to support the development of what's called an active transportation plan and ultimately its adoption by those boroughs. Its mission is to increase access and opportunities for physical activities, including walking, biking, but also wheeling and using public transit. And what's special about it is that it also provides technical assistance for the development of these plans, as well as I already mentioned, it was a no match grant, which in our current state was very desirable. So over the past primarily 8 months or so, a steering committee comprised of myself and members and groups within the community regional stakeholders and our consultant team have been meeting monthly, conducting surveys, walking tours, collecting data, all in our community to put together this plan of action. As we enter the final phase, we will present tonight the plan for council's feedback and discussion with our intent to see it adopted by September 30th. The work to date would not have been possible without so many enthusiastic supporters, many of whom are in the audience tonight. I can't thank everyone, the list is long, but I definitely want to thank our staff, including the Verona Police Department, as well as our administrative side of the house, including, of course, Christine and our summer intern, Taylor, who were a big help. I also want to thank the volunteers, especially Red Craig, Marisette Van Linden, and Dr. Nancy Carpenter, who among other tasks went above and beyond to complete many walking and biking surveys and spent numerous hours volunteering their time tediously counting cars and bikes throughout the borough of Verona. So it's now my pleasure to introduce two anchors of our consultant team leading the plan and who will be presenting to you tonight. They are Barbara Haig and John Turak. I don't want to butcher your many accomplishments, so I hope you'll give a bit about yourself as well. Thank you.
Sorry, just having a minute here. It's up to you. I'm just trying to get it up on the.
While you're doing that, I'll
plan up.
just introduce myself a little bit and talk a little bit. Thank you, Trish. I'm Barb Haig. I am a landscape architect in Indiana, PA for Thomas R. Harley Architects. And our lead, who was on our lead for the project is Mark Lazari. He's unable to be here today because his wife's doing a presentation at a conference in Chicago. So he is there tonight. So he won't be able to join us. And John Turak was, the three of us made up the consultant team, John Turak with Smart Growth Partnership of Westmoreland County. We were really excited when Trish reached out to us to be part of the consultant team or to lead the presentation or lead the effort for the active transportation plan. And what we found here in Verona was a very enthusiastic group of citizens who are very engaged and really a joy to work with. Trish put together a really great team, and the people were just really terrific. It is a no match grant, but it is also a grant that has 1 year to complete. So by the time we got our feet on the ground and got everything rolling, it was a very short 8-month time frame. So we had a very intense 8 months and a very focused group of people to accomplish all that we did in this very short amount of time, which in some ways is a limitation, but in other ways it's really really great because everybody it's all hands on decks for a very short period of time, but a very intense period of time. So just going through the plan a little bit, you see the consultants there on the bottom. But the next topic is acknowledgements. And as Trish said, there's a lot of people that we need to thank. And we have the steering committee members, whether they were participated in one steering committee meeting or whether they participated in all of them. We have the whole list here of all of the people who participated. But in addition to them, on the next page, you'll see the key stakeholders. And these were the people that we interviewed along the way. They weren't able to come to all of the steering committee meetings, but they had a very important role in providing us information directly about the plan. And then we thank Sam with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, who's actually joining us here tonight online. She is with the funding agency. So the funding comes from the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and the funding goes to the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. The Pennsylvania Downtown Center is the agency that oversees how the funding is distributed, where it's distributed, and then guides us throughout this planning process through that year. So she's here tonight and helping us to make sure it's the best plan that we could have. And also the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission, which is a 10-county, they cover a 10-county area, including Allegheny County, and they were very instrumental in helping us through their staff and the assistance that they provided to us doing the bike counts that are currently underway, but also providing the survey and the online comment mapping that we provided throughout the process. If you go to the next page, you'll see we have the plan is dedicated to the future of Verona. but including baby Jack and Winnie, and also Winston, who is Marisette's pooch, who was participated in the tour of the town, and through all of her walks with the dog, she was able to have really good eyes on the ground throughout all of Verona, and did a lot of walking, as well as learning about where with these new eyes she's gained through the planning process. Yeah. So I don't want to go through everything detail by detail, but I do want to, if you go down to a couple of more pages, that's just a little bit more about us, the table of contents, and then the introduction. So the introduction covers a lot of what is here in Verona Borough, and also all of the partners, the parameters, what we learned through everybody here. We taught this is about Smart Growth Partnership, and a lot of different links that you can learn about active transportation. And active transportation, I guess we should say, as Trish pointed out, is walking, biking, transit, any type of wheeling, whether you're a stroller or wheelchair. So how to negotiate the community with other than the vehicle, but not ignoring vehicles, but providing opportunities for everybody to get around. And then there was an article in the paper, and then we had community engagement that occurred throughout this planning process. And we also reviewed the existing plans, including the VOP plan and the comprehensive plan, the pedestrian plan, all of the plans that you have here. We reviewed those as well as part of the planning process. The next category is the community engagement portion, and that's really where a lot of the meat of what we accomplished is. And this talks about the steering committee meetings that we had, the field tour, the engagement events that we've had, as well as the key stakeholder interviews. And we invited all of council to participate in all of the interviews, as well as a very large number, 19 in all, people were interviewed as part of the key stakeholder interviews. If you go to the next page, there's a few pictures of our engagement events here in Verona, our walking tour and our public meeting. Next page, please. Thank you. And then we start to develop the map. So what we heard, we don't come into a community and say, this is what you need. We come into the community and listen to what people see, hear, and feel is what they need. We give them guidance on how to understand, how to negotiate. We understand the destinations within a community, and then we start to map it out and capture that information in map form so that it's easier to digest and easier to understand how to implement it. So if you go to the next page, this is our online comment map and online survey, and this is some of the data that we collected. So we had over 200 survey responses and over 100 pins and comments on our comment map, which is excellent feedback, and it's very focused feedback. People were able to put pins all over the map, and other people could come and read the pins and then like them, so that we could have a hierarchy of what are the areas that everybody feels need to be addressed. And we'll get to some of the details of that in just a moment. So this is some of the advertising that we've done. We had flyers, we had QR codes to lead everybody to that survey and mapping, as you probably recall. Then we get into the other meat of it. This is, so the key stakeholder interviews, we didn't provide what everybody had told us, but what we did was a synthesis analysis, an executive summary, if you will, of what the key stakeholders brought to the table. So this page is that key stakeholder synthesis, so that you can understand, you know, all of the parameters that the key stakeholders were providing to us. If you go to the next page, This is existing conditions, and part of our existing conditions, we're working with the Allegheny County Health Department, and they're providing a lot of data to us about Verona and the health needs here in Verona. If you go to the next 2 pages, you'll see some of the analysis. So curb cuts where people with handicaps can enter sidewalks. Maybe missing areas where there's missing sidewalks or cracked sidewalks. All of those pieces we've been able to capture through this analysis, and some desire lines. So what we find are places where people are going and there isn't a formal path there. So you'll see the pathway up to the get-go. You'll see the pathway along the railroad and the fence cut near the McDonald's, where the people who work there just take a shortcut or, climb through there. So there's people who are who have desires of using this, staying off of the main traffic areas. They want other ways to get to their destinations, walking and or biking. So those are some of the things that we captured along the way. So what we have are the priorities. So through all of this, what we did was we ran through an analysis of what are people saying, and how do we categorize these different opportunities that you have within the community. And we broke them into different categories. So there's community-wide connections, so getting to the get-go, getting to the Giant Eagle, getting to Oakmont. Those are all kinds of the priorities that people are looking for. And then we look at the community-wide opportunities like sidewalks, doing a sidewalk inventory, which is currently underway. Areas that need crosswalks, areas that you would like to have signage or bus stops. So all of that is captured here as well. And then there's different trails and walking paths, as well as walking improvements and or biking improvements or community enhancements. So those are all parts of what we've captured. So if you go to the next page, you'll see that some of the other activities that people are looking at are those hillside steps, some of which are currently unable to be used, but they're a historic opportunity within the town to make connections that people could use walking. And if you were able to put in a rail or a gutter to be able to bring your bike up, it could be biking connections as well. So some of those connections that exist or have existed in the past could be resurrected or completed. And there's no time frame on these. Well, actually, there are a little bit of a time frame on them, but they're not all short time. We're not saying everything has to be done right away. It's saying, here's what we've captured, here's what we've learned. And then it's up to the community and up to the council and up to other partners to determine what is the right order of implementing these and where do you seek the funding. So if you go to the next page, here's a really important part, and that's the categories. So we have different priorities. So we have connectivity priorities. So being able to connect to different areas. Number 2, we have sidewalk and crosswalk priorities. So where are those improvements that are needed for the sidewalks? We have Allegheny River Boulevard improvement priorities. So we have a focus on Allegheny River Boulevard, whether it's getting across or whether it's biking along with it. And maybe that's a bad idea. So it's looking at different ways to improve Allegheny River Boulevard. We have off-road trail connections to Oakmont. Seemed to be a priority that was coming up over and over again because there's opportunities to attract people from Oakmont to here, but also for people in Verona to get to Oakmont. We have the hillside steps, which we just talked about. We have community enhancement priorities, whether it's putting in a public restroom or whether it is adding landscaping or whether it's more inviting places to bike and or walk. We're looking at making Verona a destination instead of a pass-through place. We want people to feel welcome here. And then pedestrian and bike amenity priorities. bike repair stations, places to park your bikes, places to ride your bikes, whether it's a bike lane. So those are the categories of the priorities that we've synthesized. And the next pages are a matrix of all of those priorities identified. Actually, there's some mapping that shows you the priorities. Go ahead, it's fine. So this maps out all of those priorities on 4 or 5 different maps. If you keep scrolling through, you can have, so what we've talked about is now visually represented on these maps. And you can take a look at where those areas are. Yeah, keep going. So that's a connection to Oakmont, possibly. These are the hillside steps and the locations of them. This is those areas of the community enhancements, and then some bike and pedestrian enhancements and the potential locations of those. This implementation and funding strategy is the recipe book on how to implement these. And these are partners, potential partners and or funding agencies that can be called upon in order to implement these, and whether they are actual organizations that provide funding or can provide letters of support for funding, which is often very instrumental in whether you get the funding or not. If it's something that you just have the idea, but nobody else will write you a letter of support, chances are they're not going to fund you. But if you have the idea and all of your friends, write letters of support that they love that idea, then you have a very good project that looks really good in the eyes of the funding agency. So if you go to the next few pages, so this talks about funding and where to get matches for funding. Like Trish said, this funding did not require a match, but oftentimes most funding does require a match. So where to get those matches and how to take federal funds and local funds and match them to each other so that you don't have to come up with additional funding. Go ahead, please. And this talks about the time frame for a lot of the funding agencies. If you go to the next page, that gives us the priorities just one more time, shows them to you, and then we start getting into the matrix. So the matrix is set up where it gives you those action items. It gives you that implementation. So we're thinking that's a long term. So it's going to take, that's going to be something that you're going to do in the future, or it's something that's going to take a lot of funding. So the costs are, we did dollar signs, whether it's a small amount of money or a larger amount of money. So just orders of magnitude to give you an idea if it's an expensive project or a not very expensive project. And then who are those partners in Verona Borough that you would look for when you were going to implement that priority? So you go to those partners and have a meeting and a conversation about how to implement it. And then in the last column, those are funding agencies that fund that type of project. And those funding agencies, you could go to all of them and find funding and potentially match them for different parts of the project. So that's how it's set up. I'm not going to go through it all, but you'll see that they're all set up in like the connectivity priorities and then the sidewalk and crosswalk priorities and how those are set up. And yeah, so that's what we have, and we're really excited to share that with you. What we don't have today is the appendices, which will be all of the agendas from all of our meetings and some of the funding agencies metrics that they're requesting, and a few additional pieces of information that weren't quite the meat of it, but just supporting documentation. So we were able to provide that to council, and we were looking for any input that you have or any updates or any changes that we can incorporate. We're hoping that we're planning for this to be approved at the next Borough Council meeting in September, in the end of September. So we would be happy to answer any questions that you have or implement any changes that you have or any typos that we may have missed that you have to share with us. Did you have anything additional? Yeah, please.
I would add as introduction, I mentioned Smart Growth Partnership, actually more with Penn State Extension from their Energy Business and Community Vitality team. We did a plan like this in Smithton and Scottsdale, two smaller boroughs than Verona. One's maybe about the same size of 4,000 people, and the other one is a community of 400. A lot of times people will think, so why have a plan? Having a plan like this with priorities raises your ability to raise funds whenever the funding opportunity comes along. They want to know that you have documented, you've thought through the best investment of that. When I use the tiny community of Smithton with a population of 400, they've leveraged a few $100,000 in putting in a park and a trailhead and a kayak access and all sorts of really cool things with mostly all volunteer efforts and partnerships. So I can imagine as council members, I was once a township supervisor, you're thinking, how in the world would we ever fund this or do something with this? I've been in that seat. What I wanted to relay to you and, across the state from what we've learned, one, this was not a plan for you, this was a plan with you. And I don't know how many people were on the steering committee that are here or on the Zoom call, but that's really whose plan it is, those that helped to create it throughout the past 12 months. Beyond that, you don't have to think that it's just the municipality, the borough that needs to implement this plan. It's maybe not a municipal plan, you will adopt it as a municipality, but it's a community plan, maybe beyond the boroughs of Verona. When you look at the slide that had all the potential partners, they may be the applicant, not just the letter of support, but if it's a project that they find fits their organizational mission, they may be the applicant coming to you for the letter of support for the project. Often these external entities just need the borough to not say no, or yes, it fits with our overall plans. So I wanted to relay that to you and to the audience members, everybody that's, listening in, don't be overwhelmed. It's not a mountain. We tried to lay out the matrix with short term and, small amounts of money. Those are what we call the low hanging fruit projects. They might have high impact without a lot of investment, or investment that volunteers can make and your community members can make to make a difference and make Verona what you want. I was fascinated by your street conversation up in the front. There's no reason, you might dig into this plan and find out how it might support street improvements with some sort of funding. That's just one small example of how you can use the plan. Now that you've done it, you have the priorities, you have a tool, an additional tool in your toolbox to make Verona whatever you want it to be.
Thank you both for that presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from council, mayor, staff?
A lot of work and a lot of time put in. Looks like, there's a lot of information here. A lot of time and effort. A couple good pictures of Trish in here. One not so good one.
Thanks.
I thought it was a nice presentation.
I have one more thing to add, and that's Penn State Extension is, we're here to serve. We have a ton of online resources. Folks of the steering committee already know it. When you go through the document, you see a blue letter. You have the e-version. You can click that link and go to more resources. Not only Extension, but the architects firm, those firms, the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission, that comment map they developed, the interactive map. And what we didn't say is it not only informed this plan, but that goes to the regional planning entity that is now in their database. And, that helps in regional planning, not just their own. So we're still here if you have questions. You have my information. We're going to start a specific session.
I don't know if Sam Pearson from the Pennsylvania Downtown Center who's on the online, if she has any comments or anything that she wanted to add. I don't know if you saw if she has her hand up.
Yeah.
She's heard of it. Go to the.
She's unmuted.
Okay.
Sam, are you plugged in with your microphone?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Great. Yeah, I am here mostly as moral support. The community has done an excellent job, and the consultant team. I think there's been a great pulling together, and reaching outward at the same time, looking to get lots of input from as many people as possible and a wide range of input, thinking about the schools, thinking about the perspective of the police officers, thinking about, just how the community uses the space that you occupy together. I'm also here in case there are questions that I could field. I would be glad to answer any questions about the WalkWorks program in general or the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. This is an example of just launching into your opportunity to see how walking and biking can be a foundation for economic development, which in turn creates wealth for everyone in the community. We see that those going hand in hand in many places across the country. So I congratulate you on making progress on this, and I do welcome and invite everyone to provide input. This is a draft, and so it's still being refined, and we're working towards that finish line together. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from those up on the dais?
I just want to thank Barb and John for being here tonight and for all your work putting this plan together and your beautiful presentation, as well as, of course, Sam Pearson for all of your advice and guidance. I know this is a lot of information. I'll make sure council has the e-version so we can continue to review this. As a reminder, it is a requirement if we adopt by September 30. So if we have anything that's glaring tonight, I invite you to still share it while we have a few minutes. Otherwise, please take your time to go through everything, and hopefully we have a solid plan moving forward in terms of active transportation.
Thank you, Trish, and thanks to the consultant, the various consultants that worked on this, and the whole steering committee. I think this is a really great plan to put together. I think it's a great foundation, and I agree with a lot of the comments about it being setting the table for a healthier community and promoting walking and biking and transit use. I think it has a lot of benefits: economic, health, just getting good exercise in the outdoors. There's a lot there. So I think I'm excited to see the fruition, this plan come to fruition. I know it might take some time, but hopefully we can start to work on some of the things, identify some of the projects. I looked through them and they all seem like things that would be very beneficial to the community. So I look forward to hopefully to Verona making an investment in active transportation. So thanks again, Trish, for spearheading this and everyone else that was involved. And thank you for the presentation.
Thank you all for serving the community.
Thank you. So next we would have discussion items from advisory boards and commissions. I see a note to remove that.
Yeah, that one is removed because it turns out it's not coming from Parks and Rec, it's coming from private citizens working with another private citizen.
Okay. So does that need to be moved, or is that coming off the agenda altogether?
Just take it off the agenda.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to new business and action items, which are needed for timeliness or urgency. The first is a resolution approving the subdivision of 471 and 473 Poplar Street. Christine, did you want to share anything about this?
Sure. I mean, briefly, because this already has gone before the zoning hearing board and it made it through there and it went before planning commission, and the planning commission's recommendation that this be approved. So this typically is just a rubber stamping of what those other groups have already decided and are recommending. So basically there's a 471, 473 Poplar Street. It's two houses on one piece of land, and the owner wants to sell one of the homes and keep the other one, but then the piece of land needed subdivided, so it's been surveyed and so on and so forth. So this is just an approval of that subdivision so they can sell the one house. And if approved tonight, then I do need a signature from you, Dave, before that can be official. And this
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, first by Mr. Suchovich, second by Mrs. Wharf. Any questions or comments? Do you have anything else, Christine, on that?
That's it.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed. Okay, next we have a resolution to advertise the health and safety fee ordinance.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
First by Mrs. Wharf, second by Mrs. Provenza. Any questions or comments? Anything to add on that? Christine?
So this particular resolution is just to advertise the health and safety fee ordinance. It does not set the fee. So that's something that will be up for discussion, either later tonight if y'all have the appetite for it, or push to a subsequent meeting. But I just want to state that whatever that fee is needs to be added to the fee schedule and passed by resolution before the end of the year.
Have we seen this before? Or is this just something new?
This is the thing that we were talking about with respect to like the county hauling issues and moving over instead of having county hauling. Well, it's related to that. So it's not exactly it, but it's related to that. So this is it's a health and safety fee that would be used to fund things related to health and safety. So that could be things like stormwater management, street lighting, street cleaning, weed and debris control, code enforcement, demolition, animal control, and other similar kinds of services. And so, and this would be collected at the same time as the garbage fee, because there was a strong interest in, because of the billing issues and the, well, we'll just say general issues we've had with county hauling, transitioning away from having county hauling billing residents directly, but instead billing the borough, and the borough collects the garbage fees along with this health and safety fee through some collector who I would recommend is Keystone, which we'll get to later on in the discussion item. And then that money would come to the borough, like all of it. And then the portion that's for garbage gets paid off to county hauling. And then the portion that's the health and safety fee is retained by the borough to do health and safety kinds of things. And so this is what was discussed before, and this is now the ordinance that would allow the borough to enact said health and safety fee.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed. Next, we have a resolution acknowledging the presentation of MMO worksheet for that's minimum municipal obligation worksheet for the non-uniform pension. Anything to add, Christine?
Yeah, just a couple of sentences. So this particular document shows that the actuarial present value of future benefits is less than the actuarial value of assets. So basically what that means is that the non-uniform pension is funded well enough that the money that's currently in there now is likely to exceed what's needed to pay out the people in the pension in the future. And so therefore, the minimum municipal obligation for 2023 is estimated to be $0. However, because the funding ratio is above 100%, meaning that the value of the assets exceeds what people are expected to have to pay out in the future, that actually impacts the amount of state aid that the borough receives, and state aid is reduced. So I, again, want to, and I've said this to you, but I just want to reiterate that it's recommended to let the funding level fall to 100% to help maximize state aid. But this particular resolution is really just acknowledging this analysis that was put forth from PMRS, who manages the non-uniform pension, and that $0 is what needs to be budgeted for 2023's budget for the non-uniform pension.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, first by Mr. Suchovich, second by Mrs. Wharf. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed. Next, we have a similar resolution acknowledging the presentation of MMO worksheet for the uniform pension. Christine, do you have anything to add on this one?
Yeah, so just to explain this one a little bit, So while the non-uniform pension is funded above 100%, the police pension is not in that state. So the future liability is greater than the amount of money that's in there at this time. And so therefore, there is an estimated minimum municipal obligation for 2023 to be $54,849, some of which will be covered by state aid. We don't know what the state aid amount is yet. So whatever the balance is, I mean, it was about $45,000-ish last year. So the balance would be covered from the general fund. You may not use ARPA money. The American Rescue Plan Act dollars, the federal dollars that were allocated to the borough may not be used to make pension payments. And it's also important to note that this MMO worksheet needs to come before the governing body before the end of September. And so hence it's coming to you now. But these calculations were done making some assumptions that may or may not be true because it's pending the outcome of the collective bargaining agreement negotiations with the police department. So, and I'll leave a note to you all explaining, you know, what those assumptions were. But if the reality of the CBA results are different from what the assumptions were, then Mock and Hop will need to be contacted and they'll do a new analysis and provide an updated MMO for the 2023 budget. But if those assumptions hold true, then you know, this $54,849 would hold, and then the requirement to submit this piece of paper back to the state is fulfilled.
Thank you. Do I have a motion
I'll make the
to pass that resolution? So first by Mr.
I'll
Suchovich,
second it.
second by Mrs. Wharf. Any questions or comments? Good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passed. Next, we have motion to ratify the submission of letter of support for Friends of the Riverfront. Oh, yeah. If you haven't, you don't have to.
So for the public, since you all weren't privy to it, Friends of the Riverfront was applying for grant funding and they needed a letter of support, but their time frame was such that they needed the letter of support before this meeting. And so there was a vote via email to say, yes, let's write a letter of support for the Friends of the Riverfront. So we did that. And this is just a motion to ratify that action and make it public that the borough did in fact write a letter of support for Friends of the Riverfront.
And we wrote the letter, right?
Yep, we wrote it, sent it. It's
I'll
done.
make the motion.
Second.
All right, first by Mrs. Provenza, second by Mrs. Redzak Showalter. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have a motion to ratify expenditure to pay KSWA in the amount of $1,650. Christine.
Yeah, sure. That was another thing. Parks and Rec and LVAF posted the wrestling event. I guess it was a little over a week ago. And we needed to pay KSW upfront for their services. That was $1,650. So we had to cut a check for them. And so this is just to ratify that expenditure.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay. First by Mrs. Wharf, second by Mrs. Provenza. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have a resolution to submit projects for the CDBG program pre-application phase. Christine?
So I spoke with Matt and he suggested that we submit the following project pre-applications, one for demolition, one for ADA ramps, one for the School Street storm sewer and stairs, and another for sanitary sewer lining project. This is not an actual submission like formally for those projects. It's pre-application. It's just the county's process. And so, you know, the idea would be submit all four, see what the county says they're willing to potentially fund, not guaranteed fund, but potentially fund. And then they'll kick that back to the COG, who will kick it to us, and then actual project will be selected at a later date. So this is really just a resolution to say, yes, let's apply in a pre-app form for all four of these projects. And it's kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, really.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
First by Mrs. Wharf, second by Mr. Floda. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Okay, next we have a resolution to accept the resignation of Borough Secretary Christine Durant. Christine, do you have anything you want to say?
I do. I actually have a whole page to say. So it has been my privilege and honor to serve the residents of Verona over the last year. And I want to thank council for the opportunity. Before I go, I am preparing to leave detailed notes on where the projects stand and any critical actions that you'll need to take in my absence and before you're able to find a replacement. I'm also working on a draft 2023 budget, so you will have a good starting place for the budget process. And you can expect to see these documents before I depart next Friday, September 9th. I also wanted to say, you can just need a minute. That I am proud of the work that we have done together over the last year. The borough universally is in a much better state than it was a year ago. And I've actually, just off the top of my head, came up with a bunch of bullet points that I want to share with you and with the public to just remind you how far the borough has come in that 1 year. Bills are getting paid on time, and several contracts have been renegotiated to get better pricing. There's increased transparency of borough finances now that the monthly reports and the annual audits are available online. The annual audit was completed on time this year. The lean budget has strengthened the financial position of the borough. Last January, the general fund was hundreds of thousands of dollars in the red, and the general fund owed the sewer fund hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now the 2001 year-end fund balance of the general fund is a mere $6,000 in the red, and the money that is owed to the sewer fund could be moved over in its entirety to the sewer fund from the general fund bank account. I don't recommend doing that because that's what provides the buffer, since the fund balance isn't in the black yet. But this is incredible. Like, this is truly, truly incredible. And we should all be proud of having passed a balanced budget last year and having the discipline to live by those decisions in 2022. Matt is working on a plan for rehabbing the entire sewer system over the next 7 to 10 years, which is possible because of the fiscal responsibility showed over the last year or so. And that is likely without having to significantly increase sewer revenues. There is a new website with increased functionality that's more navigable than ever before. All of the forms online are fillable, and there's a contact us button on the website so people can reach out directly through the website. We've already gotten about a dozen or so, people in spam reaching us. More on the spam than the people, but it works. There was a fabulous summer intern who completed a useful analysis for vacant properties and data analysis for the comp plan. Verona now has a part-time admin assistant who is a rock star. Public Works has been taking new initiatives and working with the intern to inventory and map assets such as storm drains and the like. The police department continues to serve the community even while being short-staffed, and they quietly handle issues to keep residents safe. There are many other victories that we've shared in this past year, and I hope you are all as proud as I am of what we have accomplished together. Verona is in a very good place. And so it is with a heavy heart that I submitted my resignation I will miss Verona. It's been a true joy to be here and to get to know so many residents and to serve the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Need a motion.
Sadly, request a motion to accept Christine Durenk's resignation as Borough Secretary.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
First
second.
first by Mrs. Wharf, second by Mr. Suchovich. Any questions or comments?
Good luck to you in the future, Christine.
Thanks, Ray.
You're gonna make help, big asset here.
And you will be missed. Believe me, you'll be missed. Thank you for all you did.
We're very grateful to have you.
I think your accomplishments for our community are beyond measure. I appreciate the bullet points. I was trying to do some, myself for you. And as you do, you prepared and were prepared for us to share this for yourself. You are a huge asset for us. You are doing very valuable work for us and you will be missed. There will be an era that you were here that you were not. Your time here, you cleaned up many things. You've done great work for us. So I very much appreciate and respect the work you've done here. So thank you for that.
I'd also like to thank you, Christine. Like the others said, you brought us up to date on a lot of things that we had issues with, and we hate to see you go, but I know it's, move on and it's bigger and better things, but, thank you for what you've done in the past year.
Thank you.
I have some comments I'll add after. I know we have a motion on the table, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah. We all basically oppose, yeah.
I mean, do we need roll call on that or? is that-
I heard 6 yeses and
Okay.
1 no.
Okay, motion
With
passed.
regrets.
Yeah, with regrets.
So Christine, I want to thank you for your tireless, dedicated service to Verona over this past year. You were far and away the best candidate available when we hired you last August. You jumped right into our budget process by developing the budget document and engaging council and the public to talk about the tough decisions we faced. Since then, you've put in countless hours to improve the efficiency of the borough, help council meetings go smoothly, make our services easier to access for citizens who need them, and save us tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. You have professionalized this office and brought a level of stability that we've never had here before by doing things such as ensuring constituent inquiries are regularly returned, paying bills on time, correcting problems with both pension plans, filing the many regularly scheduled reports to state agencies, ensuring minutes and agendas are easy to read and posted in a timely manner, preparing us for an upcoming comprehensive plan, and most recently launching a new and improved website. It is bittersweet because you are very much deserving of the borough manager role, and I'm genuinely happy for you. However, I feel sadness and regret that you will not be taking on that role here in Verona, as we had planned and hoped for when we first hired you as borough secretary. Nonetheless, you are a rising star, and I know you will do well in all of your future endeavors. On behalf of council and the people of Verona, I wish you nothing but the best in your career ahead, and I thank you again for your service to the great people of Verona. Switching gears a little bit, I have some additional remarks to share about the road ahead. This is not the first time we've experienced this sort of vacancy in our administrative office. As many of us remember, we had a vacancy back in early 2021 when Nancy Carpenter became president and I became vice president and finance chair. During that time, and beginning in that time, this council had the tough task of reconciling messy financial reports, an unbalanced budget, pension plan difficulties, and many other challenges to get our administrative house in order. For months, with the steady coaching and support of our consultant, Susan Hockenberry, Nancy and I spent countless hours outside of meetings, regular council meetings, to help solve many problems left by our previous administration. Throughout most of 2021, I sacrificed quite a bit of time with my family in order to help this borough get back on track. When Christine arrived in August 2021, she brought a level of stability to the borough's administrative office that many of us had not experienced before. Even with the stability we've gained over the past year, the combination of being council president while parenting a toddler and facing an increasingly busy work schedule has taken a toll on my family and personal life. It is not fair to this council and constituents of this borough for me to stay in this role when I know that I no longer have the time and the energy available to give you what is deserved. Therefore, after much self-reflection over the past couple of weeks, I feel that now is the time for me to move on. Effective end of the day on Wednesday, August 31st, I am resigning both as president and member of council. I want to thank the people of Verona who elected me to council and my peers on council who elected me president. I hope that I have fulfilled my duty by not only being a voice for positive change, but also providing steady leadership during rough times over the past couple of years. This borough is in a much better place now than when I joined council in January 2020, and I'm especially proud of what we've accomplished together in both 2021 and 2022. However, this council still has a lot of work ahead. Good work, including 2023 budget, 5-year capital planning, a full-time police contract, public works contract, purchasing policy, sewer fund policy, communication plan, comprehensive plan. These are all important tasks for this borough, and I would love to see them through to fruition. But now on top of all that, I know that council will need to do the following 2 things. Begin the search for a new borough secretary or manager as proposed on the agenda here, and maintain a quality level of service to our constituents. I cannot put myself and my family through the level of stress I felt in 2021. I need to put my family and my sanity first. It is time for new leadership to step up and lead the way through the challenges ahead. I thank you all for your support, and I wish this council the best in moving Verona forward. And I have a signed resignation letter I'll leave with Christine here. So I know that's tough to move on from, but that's all I have on that.
I'd like to say a few words as well. Both the resignation you heard from Christine tonight and one that we just heard from President Matlick. A lot of what everyone's hearing tonight in our thank yous and our goodbyes, there's a lot of work that goes in discussions that have been very difficult recently. Been very trying recently. I'm not talking recent days, even though it's come to a head recent week, but for months. Our tenure is just about aligned when I was appointed last year, then I was voted in. And I came to my position here through appointment. Then I was voted in. And I shared some of the same challenges that Dave's talking about when I was in our previous council. And the number of people I spoke with or interviewed with or knocked on doors for, I had every intention of doing the best I could do here. And I've run into some obstacles myself that I'm needing to make a decision as well. I've been very deliberate in helping to bring the structure, the discipline, the vision that this community needs to grow and thrive, much at the direction of Dave this last year. So I want to thank him for that, but it's been tough. For anyone that knows me, my alarm goes off at 5:55 in the morning every day. And I work at Children's Hospital. And I spend a lot of time you see here till 10, 11 o'clock at night. I've got 2 young kids as well, and I have a wife, and I have other things I dedicate myself to. Public service I take very seriously, and some of the obstacles I've had, that we've had as a collective here, it's difficult. I can only advocate for so much. You know, I feel I've asked challenging questions. I've advocated for smarter, more effective ways to work here. Spent countless hours reading through municipal contracts, proposed ordinances, trying to be fair and to the benefit of all residents and businesses. The process we went through recently to retain and grow Christine some of the challenges through discussions that I've been a part of, I can only advocate so much, and I don't feel that I'm in a position where I'm doing most effective good, and at the same time, I'm having to balance my personal life as well as my professional life with my civil duty. I'm in a very tough situation. I'm going to try to stay very positive. If anyone has any questions outside of the meeting, I'm glad to answer any questions, but I'm at a point where I'm going to have to step down and resign as well. And it's very unfortunate. I took this responsibility more seriously than you probably realize. I am experienced in doing what we're doing here. I've seen other communities do this. I've been able to balance personal, professional, and civic duty before. This is different. In my opinion, the misstep we've taken in not being able to retain staff and some of the things I see as challenges right now, I don't see a way that I can help lead or guide or contribute because I'm doing a whole lot more. Everyone who knows me here, I see a lot of familiar faces. You know, I'm long-winded. I'm very thoughtful, but I feel like I'm exhausting all options to bring reasonable solutions to the problems that we have. When I say problems, I say that in the most positive ways. If you look around these walls with all these blue dots, this is feedback from people who live here, who work here, who are born here or not born here, that we are all vested in this community. Every single one of these priorities has a dollar amount to it. And some of the recent conversations, without budging, where I'm hearing that we're not going to raise taxes, and these things I'm hearing where it's just a stance, or that you're not from here and you don't know, or that's not the way we've done things. I'm trying. I've tried. I'm one of those young families who Verona wants to welcome and bring in with fresh ideas and new things. I've tried, but the response I've gotten too often is just not. It's just not what I hoped for. And I'm just hoping it's just not the right time. And the dedication it takes to fulfill all these things and make all these blue dots happen and put the money where it needs to be, it's been very, very exhausting. And I want to let anyone know that has supported me or provided any insight to me or has supported me in any capacity, including my family. I'm proud to have served my community. And this is a very tough decision, but I need to step down as well. I don't know what else to share. For all the people I've been fortunate to serve, I thank you for having your confidence in me. And I've done my very best, and I am also in agreement that the time I've been here, I do strongly believe that we're in a better position. This council remains with many important things to do. We're not in the red anymore. There are a lot of priorities, but they're conflicting priorities. And there are things that need to be known. We're not running a small business. We're not a fundraising organization. We're not selling ads and tickets. There is business to be done, and it is very serious. It's a great responsibility. It falls to this body here. It doesn't fall to any other committees or any other people. It's us. And I wish you luck in those decisions you have to make. But unfortunately, at this point, I'm going to have to move on as well.
I would just like to say both Dave and to Joey that you both brought something to this board to get this borough a step ahead to where we were in the past. Your thoughts, your wisdom didn't go unnoticed because here, and along with Christine too, as a newcomer, she's been here a year. We're better off, like the three of you had said, than we were even before you were here. Yins worked very hard, and especially Dave, and I know with Nancy, Yins were here 5 days a week after 5, 6, 7 o'clock working on different things because we had no one here, and you both stepped up. In fact, everybody stepped up at that time. And yes, I do understand. I've been here 31 years, and yeah, it does take a toll on you with your family. I was fortunate that my kids were, teenagers, and teenagers that go on their way, and this is something that I wanted to do. But I totally understand, a young family and want to spend time, but what you have done did not go unnoticed, and I would like to thank both of you for that.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
all three of you have taken this whole new level.
Well, I'm a little disappointed to hear that both of you are walking, so, but you have to do what you have to do.
I appreciate what you guys have done.
Mhm.
And I appreciate your opinions. Things have done a lot here. We've not always agreed. That's the way it is, I guess, you know? You'll be missed. Good luck to you. Wish you the best.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks for all you've done and best of luck in the future.
Thanks, Vince.
Got a lot of long, hard meetings, so.
I will say, guys, this doesn't have to be so challenging, and I don't want anyone to think I'm walking, and I'm sorry you feel that way, but I don't want you to, I want to share with you, I'm not walking. It's a very difficult decision for me. I won't speak for anyone else.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
it
not for
is.
the money. We all know this. I'm dedicating all of my
Yeah.
salary back to the community because it's $0, which is not true in every community. For anyone that doesn't know, we don't get paid to do this up here. And I don't like the sound of it as if I'm walking. I please don't, and I don't want to just focus on that one word, but I'm not walking, guys. I've done a lot. And I look forward to doing more in the future. It's just, it's, you know, now is not the time.
You have, both of you have, and I hope it's both keeping, in touch with the community and do things. We have a lot going on, as you know, and being involved in the borough. That's very important also, for everybody.
Yeah.
And you are appreciated. You have been
Yes.
appreciated.
That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to say is even though we've had our disagreements, you're both greatly valued and we're all sharing in this disappointment and very shocking news. Thank you for always being open and honest. I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Oh, you mean to executive session?
No, just.
You just want to recess.
Yes.
Just wants to take a break.
Sure.
Second.
So first by Mrs. Razak Showalter, second by Mr. Suchovich. Any questions or comments?
Is this executive session where we have discussion amongst legal counsel, mayor?
She wants to just take a break.
Take a break.
Like a bathroom break.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Water.
Calm down.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay.
Whoa.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Hey, Dean.
Out loud, I'm
My hands are frozen.
Yeah, my nose is freezing.
I know, it's freezing in here.
Try to work on that.
That's
Yeah,
life.
it's cold.
I wish you the best. You guys run a good business here, man. I'm sorry to hear you.
Yeah.
Good
What the hell,
leadership.
there's- I didn't come, this is the first meeting I came to. I'm seeing three guys.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, gosh.
Shouldn't have asked for your
It'll-
street to
it'll-
be paved.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's
The
going on.
The
borough
holes were
will,
keeping everything
they'll
together.
keep on trucking.
Yeah,
We got
I have faith.
You guys doing a good job. I swear.
yeah.
I'm very impressed by this.
You don't have any money.
Tonight, you know what I mean? So-
Appreciate
We didn't do
Thank
any roads this year.
Appreciate that.
And I wish you guys were still staying.
Really good.
So, she-
No, I just thank you. I just felt like-
Big time, what's up? How you doing? Good, good. Oh, yeah.
You never know.
God bless you.
You might get them back.
Thank you.
Let's see it,
Our
Timmy.
kids get a little thicker.
Oh, my God, yes. Started very young. Old. 91, 92. My dad, because my dad has a little.
My grandson, my daughter called, can you call?
But like I said.
Can you
they both
call?
have changed
Or just what
and
you were saying,
doing
my
it. I have
grandson,
to take him to
At
the
7 o'clock,
appointment.
she texted me, she said,
That should not
Sammy
be.
wants
That
you to
should
call,
not be.
or he wants to call you. And I said, I'm in a meeting. He said, oh, he was hoping to talk to you. I talk to him almost
Well,
every night.
they still get out of it.
So now, Craig, what do we do? We have nominate or what?
That's wonderful.
Well, his,
It's a blessing.
his resignation is effective until next Monday.
Tomorrow.
next-
I know you'll.
For the third tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be
So
around.
then we can accept it at the
That's
next
us
council meeting.
Slovenians. We don't go far.
And
Yeah.
depending on how one council wants to go, they can advertise or they don't have to.
But do we have to take nominations?
You do not. I mean, it's any way you want to. There's no rules.
Oh,
Give them both a hug.
Just take out
just
the
appoint people. Just appoint people.
Or you could take applications.
Letters of interest.
Oh, letters of
Yeah,
interest.
we've done that before. That makes sense to do.
Okay.
They did with not, got appointed.
How would people know, though, to take letters of interest?
You have to
Put it on the website.
Oh, the website,
That
okay.
was very good for them.
I wouldn't spend money doing it.
No, no.
He was. And he's not so bad. Yeah. But my dad's
So,
physically not as bad, but he has the dementia.
this is a fine pickle we're in. What's the saying that went in the commercials? What was the saying? I can't think of it right now. I didn't know.
Oh, no, that's.
Got us with our pants down.
No, well, we buy bottles.
Oh, good, good.
So that's what I'll do. I'll tell the else to drink.
They actually allows your families, people, seniors, and they were starting to lose the memory. They increased the, change. There's always a solution.
Right. Can't go wrong. I mean, I'll try it, but just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody
Oh, I know, yeah.
said so.
Yeah, I will.
That stuff's horrible. Thank you for coming over.
No, that's okay.
Well, we can take
Like I said, everybody
letters of
else
interest.
That's all.
talked about the road, and they said,
Oh, you'll
"If I
get
said,
a copy.
"Go to council meeting," so-
Yeah, but we
And I jinxed it
Oh, I know.
here, so I'm on it.
need ones that, are really serious, not just.
Thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
See you, Vic.
See you, Dave.
See you, Vicky. Take care.
He still has one more kid, right?
Yeah,
Because two of them were
Yeah, so
killed.
it's two, a boy and a girl.
Yeah, but both in car accidents. I thought you gotta be kidding.
Plus
One
two
going down
kids.
the boulevard.
Who
The
did?
woman that just left.
That woman,
Really?
yeah, the
Boy
two
and a girl.
kids.
Yeah, one on the bull, I think they were both on the
No.
boulevard.
I just knew they were gone.
Universal.
You have to go.
That's right.
I think you have to
How
go.
old?
They were young.
The girl.
Oh, I thought,
They were
oh,
very young.
oh, okay.
Sober driving. Someone come up and-
Yeah. she got
Sorry.
killed. There's a cross on her.
Yeah, there's a cross.
Oh,
And
my.
her son the same way. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I heard that.
That's right.
Oh, is that how he died?
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
His head out of the window. Oh,
Yeah.
for God's
Then
sake.
hit a pole.
Well, their dad, do you know Leslie Leisure? He used to be he used to be a cop in Oak
And
Point.
he was dispatcher.
Dispatcher,
With
yeah.
the county and what have you, I
Oh.
believe. He set up our radios.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you told me it was
I was-
red.
I was kidding him. I said, little more work, little less leisure.
Oh,
Right? That's what you want.
But his name's Kim.
Yeah, that's great.
His actual
Yeah.
name is Kim.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Joey, thank you for your time. Did you say
It's cold in
17?
here,
It's
isn't it?
freezing in here.
Thank you. Those two.
Here's 17 for me.
Okay. Thank
Dave.
you. Thank you, Dave. Dave R.
It's been 5 minutes. I don't know who's the party.
out there?
Thank you.
Likewise.
You have brought this forward. Not everybody did. I see that. You're going to be missed. And, like Ray said, we have our disagreements, but if we did, then I would say that there's definitely something. But not having disagreements, because I appreciate everything that's done.
Thank you.
Some people, some exited from Third Street. Some were here.
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm here.
It's actually here for negotiation talks.
Oh, goody.
right, back at it.
When you go home, there might be a check. from- She was making the same thing. She said you should get it. And the other thing is.
I'm not hugging, so I feel compelled to hug each of you, but that's okay.
Cars at the shop.
Oh, are you serious?
That Tim just managed to get here.
Christine's the one that deserves the cake.
What's your favorite? Here.
Yeah. I know. Trust me. Good, but thank you. Anything formal to read?
Motion to reconvene the meeting.
Yeah, and I see that. All right. Okay. So where do we leave off?
Well, we'll wait for everyone to take their seats.
Okay, sure.
But. um, All right, motion to resume the meeting.
Make that motion.
Second.
First by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. Provenza. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed. We'll resume the meeting with item 9, motion to update the bank signatories.
So this becomes a bigger discussion because our bank signatories right now are mayor, council president, council vice president, and borough secretary. And we require 2 signatures to pay bills. And very soon there will be 1 of 4 available signatories. And it does take some time to get this process through the bank, particularly if whoever is a named signatory does not already have an S&T bank account. So a decision is going to need to be made about who will become the bank signatories so that we can begin the process of getting those people added so that checks can be paid next, or, bills can be paid next week. We're still good this week because Joey and Dave are still around tomorrow. And I'm still obviously around till next week. And I guess next week, Mayor, you and I can sign checks. But then after that, don't know what will be. So, so a decision's needed about who will be signing checks.
How long does that take to get their names on there,
It
roughly?
week and a half, because
Okay.
it's,
Does it have to be, I mean, Greg, can it be someone, can someone be appointed just till the new president, and vice president fill it in? Can you just put
Yeah,
2 of us?
Christian, when's your last day?
next Friday, September 9th.
And Joey, is your resignation also effective tomorrow? Or did you pick a day?
I have not dated my resignation, and if it is the wish of council, I will remain through a period of time so that there's enough to keep business moving forward.
Okay.
If it's the will of council, but I'll make that motion to update bank signatories to get us moving with the official business for this thing.
I was gonna say that we could have a special meeting on the 7th of September before Christine leaves to reorganize. And that way, is a day or 2 give you time?
It depends if the bank is available, so I can call the bank tomorrow. Because especially if the people who are not, the people who are named as signatories do not have an S&T bank account, then there's just like another verification of identity. It's not a big deal, but it means you physically have to go, you have to show a couple of forms of identification, that kind of thing. Whereas if somebody already is an S&T bank holder or account holder, then they've basically already verified that person's identity prior to opening the bank account. And so then I can go up to the bank and just say, put those people on the paperwork, but they won't even add people to the paperwork if they haven't verified their identity. So I think it would make a lot of sense to, in the next day or 2, preferably now, pick people who are going to sign checks, at least in the short term. So that, and then once you get the paperwork, you have to snail mail it back and then they do analog things.
So if we did that now, like, we may change it
Yeah.
2 more weeks.
But even to get me off, the paperwork still has to be done. Otherwise, I'm still, like, I still have access to everything and I shouldn't.
So we need to cease existing members on paperwork. We need to add new members to the paperwork. So it's a number of changes. I made a motion. If someone wants a second for discussion.
Motion is to what? To,
To discuss this, we need a motion to discuss this,
We motion to update.
to update, yeah, the big.
So I'll go ahead and make a
number nine.
second to update.
Are we including who are the people?
I was gonna bring that for discussion.
No, yeah.
Hey, listen,
Who's always available?
That's what I was thinking. Is anyone in the area a lot during the day that?
I want to
Vince,
make a
are you-
recommendation on the 2 members of the finance committee. Ray.
I'm retired. I'm around.
Okay, how about Vince?
I am, but I'm not on the finance committee.
Oh, we can slap you on there and I might stick you on there.
So Rody, you're retired and you're on the finance committee, right?
Yeah.
And Ray, that's where you were going with that, right, Joey?
My recommendation as we move forward is that anyone that's in the know, fully aware of finances, which we all should be, by the way, to Vince's point, we're all in the finance committee, be assigned that. So I mean, again, whoever's local, available.
That's fine. I don't.
Does anybody have an objection to Rhoda and Ray?
Sounds great.
Does somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
okay, first by Mrs. Redzak Showalter, second by Mrs. Provenza.
That's all right.
Motion to add Mr. Sechovich and Mrs. Worth as signatories
And remove.
And
Christine,
remove-
and
myself,
remove
you.
Christine, myself, and Mr. Warren. Mayor will still remain as a signatory.
When does this become effective?
As soon as we can get the paperwork
As soon
done.
as she can get it
Okay,
done.
just let me know.
So
Yeah.
afterwards, Rhoda and Ray, let's just touch base about your banking institutions and we'll figure out what we need to do
Okay.
to get you added.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Second was Sylvia.
Thank you.
Next, the item that was added as item 10 under new business is the motion to authorize advertisement of the borough manager position.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, first by Mrs. Worf,
Second.
second by Mrs. Provenza. So we do have a advertisement prepared with the help of Susan Hockenberry that everyone's reviewed and I believe is okay with. So if there are any other questions or comments about that? Okay, all those in favor,
Just
please.
the one number was changed. That's all, if you remember.
Yeah, we set the
Yeah.
the salary range. Yep,
From 70 to 85.
correct. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed.
Mr. President, before we move to the discussion items, one thing we didn't do when we made that motion, because it wasn't on the agenda, was offer it up to public comment. We probably should do that, even though it was formality. So if
Sure.
anybody has any public comment on the motion to change signatories
Or you mean the,
on the bank. No, we did, we offered that for public comment. We didn't make
Okay.
offer the changing of the signatories for public
okay,
comment.
okay, gotcha.
So looking to online, I don't see the online hands raised, and looking to the audience, I don't see anyone approaching the podium at this point.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. First, we have a text alerts policy. Sylvia, do you want to have anything to share?
I was just going to read it, Dave.
Sure.
Emergency text messaging. If borough secretary is not available, then the mayor will handle it. If the mayor is not available, then council president will handle it. If none of the above mentioned are available, then the vice president will handle it.
And if he's not available.
Forget it.
Well,
We're done.
It's almost like-
just a question, just a comment, if we're gonna, we gotta change the wording on the borough secretary.
You mean the manager?
Well, it says borough secretary.
Where is that?
It's a
Oh,
secretary
geez,
slash
okay,
manager.
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could say secretary slash manager.
Yeah, that's good.
And just to be clear, when this mentions handle it, is that getting in contact with Curtis who provides the service, or is that using the alert service?
I don't think Curtis is contacted anymore. Christine has all the information on how
So
to.
it's literally signing in. So those people have the username, the password, the website, and the ability to type it up, auto spell correct it, and send it at any hour.
We don't have Curtis anymore.
No, we do, but he
Oh.
doesn't send out the text alerts. anymore.
Oh,
Christine
oh,
does it.
oh.
I'm assuming there'll be, it'll default to the borough secretary or manager before going to the other people, because
That's
otherwise,
the chain of command.
yeah, otherwise you might have, you don't want 3 people sending out the same
Right.
Yeah.
alert.
And just to be clear, like, this is emergency alert. I kind of
Yeah.
alluded to this earlier. This is not about, come see this, give this a try. This is, there's a fire, there's a flood, there's a tornado, heat, cooling centers open kind of thing. So I do strongly suggest that in moving forward, this communication is purely for emergency, not advertisement. I know that can be ambiguous with advertisement, but err more towards emergency.
Okay. Again, so this is, we're on discussion items, so this is just for discussion, for hopefully action at a future meeting. Does anyone else have any other comments or anything to add to that policy? Okay. All right, next up is the health and safety fee collection proposal from Keystone and discussion of the addition of the fee to the fee schedule. Christine, do you want to?
Yeah, this is just, sort of continuing from earlier tonight as well as previous meetings. So, should the health and safety fee ordinance be passed, which it sounds like there's a strong interest in that, as well as doing the garbage collection to pay county hauling, then that's not something that we would literally do in-house since we're not like a bill collecting service per se. And so I did get 2 quotes, one from Keystone and one from the Turtle Creek Valley COG. It would be my recommendation to go with Keystone, given that they already collect for taxes. And so they, they have the billing addresses of everybody, they're already set up. It's a kind of a no-brainer for them to take on this additional quarterly invoicing. And they also I lost my train of thought. So, yeah, so they would send these quarterly invoices directly to residents. It's already in the ordinance that the garbage bill is supposed to be in the owner's name. That's something that's not being enforced right now, and a lot of rental properties have the garbage in the tenant's name. So there will need to be some outreach done from the borough to the residents to make sure everybody knows that the names of the garbage bill must be in the name of the owner of the property. Perhaps that would be a good newsletter article since the newsletter goes to everybody. And then again, just to reiterate, whatever the fee is determined to be, that would need to get added to the fee schedule and passed by resolution by the end of the year, since this is something that would go into effect in 2023. And then for reference, I just wanted to let you know, did a little research and The communities of Dormont, Homestead, and Rankin all have similar fees, and they charge an average of $8.50 per month. So that's, just some benchmarking that was done, but ultimately it would be up to council to set those fees and, discuss that amongst yourselves. So in terms of the 2023 budget, there is going to be a line item drafted to include that revenue, which of course depends on what the fee actually is. So it would be useful to have a little bit of information, a little input about, the will of council on how that may or may not be set, not really making a decision, but at least, spitball some numbers so that you have a starting point. But it's also been a very heavy meeting, and I understand there may not be the appetite to discuss another heavy topic. So I leave that to all of you to determine whether you want to discuss now or table for later.
Okay, I have a question. You're leaving next Friday, and this is like a very important issue. Are you going to make a list of things so the next person coming in knows to
Yes.
pick up where you left off?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't want to, be left with, something like this. It's so important for us to complete by the end of the year. Because you've mentioned 2 items already that need to be taken care of before the end of the year.
There are lots of items that need to be taken care of before the end of the year.
Okay.
And I have already started it's 4 pages already of all the things that need to be done.
Okay.
And, it'll be available for, my predecessor and anybody who's working on things in the interim before that person is named. But there certainly are a lot of things that need to be handled before the end of the year, that is for sure. So again, my recommendation to go with Keystone Collection Group, just because they're already like in the know on Verona, they have the infrastructure, and it would be very easy for them to do this.
This isn't something we'd have to bid out, like,
Professional services. So you
no,
don't need to.
okay.
This is actually long overdue.
We need to do this, and I think Keystone makes sense.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
So I'd like to make that motion.
Oh.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make that motion for the health and safety fee collection proposal from Keystone.
I'll second it.
So there's,
Can I just ask a question? So I didn't put that as an action item. I put that as a discussion item. So,
You can't make a motion.
yeah, we're not.
Legally.
Well, you could make a motion to add to the agenda. as
And
an
it's on,
action item.
it's on the agenda. That was the purpose of Act 65. I mean, I don't think that there's any intent to deceive the
Public.
public. It's on the agenda. If you want to turn it into an action item, I think that you have that right.
I need to expedite for,
I think you're right. Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, first by Mr. Warren, second by Mrs. Wharf. Any questions or comments?
so this is to pursue and go into contract with Keystone, but I think it's going to remain to council what fee will be there.
Right.
Just to be clear.
I think, I
So
believe
for
that's
what's
what Christine
proposed,
said.
I'm making, this is the motion to move with Keystone as advised.
Now, I thought we still had to confer with the county hauling.
So Craig, do you
I
want to give the
spoke with
update?
Kit Pettit, who is their attorney,
Okay.
to inquire. I hadn't heard from him on what their intentions are. He did tell me that they're very interested in having Verona take over the building. Of course they are, because it benefits them.
Yeah, it get paid.
But I had requested that they give us some consideration back to take that off of them, because, we're taking that responsibility off, and, they're saving a significant amount of expense by not doing it. So he did tell me that they are still looking at, a formula, whatever, to remunerate the borough back. He did tell me that he has a meeting with the folks at County Hauling tomorrow, not on this item,
Right.
but they just had a prearranged meeting, and he said that he would bring that up to them again tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed to go with Keystone.
Do we
Um,
want to discuss the fee as well?
Oh, we could.
Good.
I'm interested in expediting this.
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, do it.
I'd say as we consider this fee at this point, we're going to go into discussion. I think that this is going to alleviate a lot of the issues that we've heard in recent months with circumstances we found ourselves in, not scenarios, but like what if, but like we truly had things happen. So you're saying $8 per month you've seen, or $1.50 per quarter?
No, they were like $8, $8.50 and $9.27. Like it was a weird number
Quarter?
per month. Those particular communities collected on a monthly basis somehow.
Okay,
But
we'll
this would be per quarter. So, you know, if Verona adopted a fee that was consistent with those other 3 communities, then it would be like $24, $25 per quarter.
Okay, I see, let's do it.
And the homeowner pays this?
Yes,
The homeowner pays it.
absolutely.
And that goes specifically to the things that would be acknowledged by council as a health and safety issue, that when we need to address those, when somebody comes in and says, this is an issue, this, like, we need to address it, we're not looking at where's the money for it. This is specifically for those items, when raised and as waived by council.
I'm more confused.
Yeah,
So
Ray,
the
okay, this
fee-
goes to the people that own the building, like.
No,
if
but I'm
it's a-
saying, okay,
if
so
it's a
you're gonna
rental.
pay $24 a month more for your house,
For a quarter,
a quarter.
yeah.
So you'll pay that. Where's that money go to? To the, what? I don't understand. I'm confused as to why.
This is to offset the cost of like the cats, or like when the guys have to go and pick up trash in the house that was abandoned.
Right.
Potentially.
But so
demolition.
in other words, every homeowner is gonna get penalized then.
Well,
Everybody's paying in for the things we're already paying to remedy, or not paying and hearing a lot of the community about.
think of it as a savings account.
Yeah, basically.
And as you address these issues over the years and you acquire funding for things, then when you have projects with blue dots on them, you're like, well, what if this was a better health and safety issue that we can tackle? If you're not spending money because you've already taken care of the nuisance homes that are not doing their, whatever they're not doing, you aren't, I mean, that's the idea of the community. Everyone collectively puts in a little bit and you can do great work with it. So the collection agency Keystone was taking those dollars quarterly. They remain here and then they're assessed to, you know, where they're being spent as we come upon issues. The idea is that over time, all those issues keep going to where they're hopefully nil. And then as you collect more funds, then you're growing the health and safety concerns and initiatives throughout the community.
So to be clear, this is not a health and safety fund. This is a health and safety fee. So if it were like the sewer fund, those sewer dollars go into a separate fund that can only be used for sewer things that's like in a separate bank account. It's a separate fund. It's audited separately, all of that. A health and safety fee would be for health and safety things, of which there are more than this fee would ever cover. Because technically, like fire services, police services, code enforcement, demolition, like all the things are covered by, like really fall under that umbrella of health and safety. And so this money would actually go live in the general fund and would be used for, again, those health and safety things. And it would come in on a monthly basis from Keystone by ACH right into the bank account in the same way that, like, you know, EIT and LST and property taxes do.
Would you guys think it should be a little less at the beginning?
That's up to
Yeah,
all of you.
I don't know what to base it on because we've never done it.
Yeah, I'm not really, I don't know. I don't remember talking about this in the past. I don't.
Oh, we did talk about.
I believe you. I
this.
just,
Yeah.
Vince, you've heard of this, you're aware.
I think you might have missed that one.
is that a way maybe, or?
I think you were.
Yeah,
We talked about maybe having Oakmont Water collected.
I don't, honestly, I don't remember it. I'm not trying to be,
Well, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before you were,
I was away.
you were away.
Well, you know what, $8, like I said, there's times when we have to play, you know, dish out money for, you know, fumigating or cleaning up, and it's gonna be helpful. So I'm gonna stick to $8 a quarter. I mean, $24 a quarter.
Is it that you're not comfortable with it or not comfortable with the amount?
Both,
Really?
yeah. Just add, it's just add more onto the homeowner.
Mhm.
And, it's only $24, but it's just a quarter.
But indirectly, the rentals, okay, that have been so negligent and causing our rates to go up, this will get them, the owners of the building will be paying for it. So
Well,
that'll
then
get them to
then
be a
the-
little
Then
more,
the owner, the landlords and the rentals units should be the ones paying it, I think.
well,
Wait, say that again?
everybody will be paying because we all have garbage.
Well, we pay our garbage bill though.
Yeah.
Well, but the things, stormwater management, street lighting,
Mm-hmm.
street cleaning, weed and debris control, code enforcement, demolition, animal control, they all benefit everyone
Yeah,
in the whole town.
that's,
I'm-
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So indirectly, we'll stretch that dollar.
And it raises property values across the board.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, council wants to.
I
to
just
move
don't, I
this-
just don't understand what it does for like, what we mean by street lighting or what we mean by sewers or
Well,
It's anything that's related to health or safety.
I
Right,
understand that, but what,
So street lighting is about safety, because it illuminates the area.
at
so
night?
People can do that. It
we
could
pay
be-
that out of the budget.
Sure, and there's also not enough money in the budget ever for all.
but
the
this
things.
helps
And
alleviate.
so, like, right now, there's no code enforcement officer, but this could basically enhance the revenues of the general fund to allow for a code enforcement officer to be hired, on a permanent basis, rather than, once a week that we can get right now with the BIU. So it would pay for code enforcement. There was also a lot of interest in having additional police officers. Police officers fall under the safety category. And so this kind of thing could be used to fund additional police officers. There are a number of things that, people wanted, like the three main dots.
I was just gonna say. the
Actually all
dots.
fall
All these
under
things,
this, code enforcement officer, body cameras, and additional police officers. All of those things would be qualified expenses.
Demolitions.
Demolitions, there was interest in that, like,
Bunch of them.
there's a lot of them. And so this would, basically make those more doable.
And
So
all
this,
these things were upvoted by residents and council, so it's. I mean,
So
stuff
this-
must be done.
I'm sorry. So this would go into a separate line item in the fund and stay there until AJ and the crew had to go clean a house out.
It would go into the general fund. So in the budget itself, there would be a revenue line item called, there'd be two line items. One would be called something like, garbage fees, because we would then be collecting the fees to send off to county hauling. And then there'd be another line item called health and safety fee. And that would be this $8 a month that's being discussed, or whatever the number is. And those both come in as revenues. Now, the county hauling one goes out with, an equivalent expenditure, because then we would pay the pay county hauling bill on a quarterly basis, and that money just, we're a pass-through,
But
basically.
we're not doing that yet.
No, that would be for next year, for
Okay.
2023. And then this health and safety fee, because it's a fee and not a fund, it goes into the general fund, would live there and be able to fund things that are health and safety related, bless you, of which there are many. So, this is an opportunity to get some of the things that, the public and council spoke and said they wanted, when we did the DOT exercise. With everybody.
So-
Okay. Okay.
Question, we have to advertise the ordinance anyway. And the fee's not in the ordinance, it's in a resolution.
Right.
So couldn't we put a discussion and action item on the regular meeting agenda to set the fee at the same time we pass the ordinance? Does that not make sense?
It does, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But she's not gonna be here for the next meeting, so she's not gonna be here for the next meeting.
I understand.
Yeah,
But
so,
it's her vision. We're
Right,
we're
right.
just setting the number at
Okay.
that point.
sure.
I think we all shared in the vision.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, the
So,
vision's there, but I just want to make sure it comes up at regular meeting, because no one's gonna be here.
I will be doing as my last action on
Okay,
Friday
great.
afternoon, we'll be making one more fabulous set of key tree killing packets.
Okay, okay, good, good, good. Okay,
Maybe use the
good.
Amazon.
Okay.
All right. So that's tabled until ordinance.
Do we have to make a motion to accept all the resignations tonight?
His resignation is not effective till tomorrow, so we'll make a motion to accept it at the next meeting.
Do we need a motion to advertise? Or is that covered by the previous motion?
For what,
For-
members
The
of
health-
council?
No, the health and safety.
We did that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was,
She said, yeah.
that was item 2 under new business. Yep. I know it was a while ago, but,
Sorry about that.
Okay.
all right. Moving on, the next item is the Cribs Field Bench, Mayor Recupero.
Yeah, did we ever get restitution for the damage on that? The 3 kids damage?
It's a table.
The table, yeah.
We cannot, we as the borough cannot force anybody to pay restitution because we are not a judge.
So where
Yeah, but
we
there was
at
a
with
police
that?
report.
So no, like somebody would need to file a police report and it would need to go before a judge and have a judge order the individuals to pay restitution.
You mean you tell
Chief
can't
said
do it.
that-
Charges would have to be filed against the kids.
I thought
Yeah,
he said that the family was willing to pay for it.
He can ask, but they,
I thought he
Don't have
already
to.
said that he
Right.
talked to them and they said that they were.
I
I
haven't heard anything additional about this. I'm just saying that we can't force them. So even if they say, yeah, we will, and then they're like, just kidding, we won't. There's nothing we can do about it unless charges are filed against those individuals and the judge orders them to.
They broke the law, so that, I think that should happen.
I must have
They
missed
they
something.
destroyed public property on camera.
Yeah, we had it on
So
camera.
file charges.
But we're not
Why
a judicial
wasn't there
system,
a
So we're
fi-
not able to carry out judicial
Yeah.
system activities, so.
No, I'm saying
Either
that we
if the
should
fam-
file charges. on it.
Absolutely.
Why weren't the police called?
Yeah, I
they're-
thought the chief,
Duh, how
the
come there
chief
wasn't a
said he was
report?
handling it and I thought that
I
he's,
think there was a report.
Well, then what the hell's the problem?
then why, is-
Family doesn't want to pay it maybe.
then it should have already been
Take the
filed.
report.
Because I even said that I don't want to see the kids have any type of record.
Right.
But, and that's only up to the judge to say, restitution, then everything would be, wiped clean, I
Sponge,
guess.
right?
Oftentimes what you see when something like this happens, the charges get filed, you go to the preliminary hearing, the judge says, look, why don't you just pay him back? Postpone it for 30 days. If it gets paid back, then we'll dismiss the charges. That's how you see a magistrate, keeping it in-house instead of sending it downtown.
Right, exactly. And that's why I would like to see it happen. I don't want
But
to.
somebody has to file charges against the kids. Unless the parents walk in with a check and say, look, let's just make you guys whole.
Well, wouldn't the chief have to do that? Because he's the only one who saw the video.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do it.
Then he should do that.
Well, somebody needs to step up to that.
All right,
It's like $1,000.
I will look into that. The other thing
Yeah,
is too is,
steel. Steel's
as you
expensive.
heard, there's a lot of streets that need to be done and we've been, 2, maybe 3 years without doing any streets.
Oh, just this year.
What's that?
Just this year, right?
Number 4 then?
Well, during the COVID too.
Sure.
We didn't
Yeah, we
do-
did some, didn't we? First Street.
Is that during the COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
We're just closing that out literally now,
Okay.
this week.
That road bought, it was supposed to map the streets. Where are we at with that?
Taylor is finalizing a dashboard that can be made public. We got the results back and so she's just making it look prettier for public consumption. And that has been turned over to Matt so that he can, make some prioritizations and get some cost estimates. Look at, crack sealing to preserve some of the roadways as long as possible versus restoration. A lot of it is frankly going to depend on what's the budget for 2023 for paving. For 2022, that was a way $100,000 was cut from the budget. And so there's no street paving this year, but if, we want street paving, then that line item has to go back in. And then the question is, well, is it 100,000? Is it 50,000? Is it 150,000? Is it
Right.
resurfacing? Is it crack sealing? Is
Yeah.
it patching? Like there are like a whole host of things that it could be. And so Matt has that data and he'll be able to.
Yeah, I know. I had talked about it. I know there's some grants he's looking into.
Yeah, but we have a lot of matches, even though we get grants.
Yeah,
We
well, I
still
do
have a lot of
understand.
money.
that. No, I do
Taxes are
understand
gonna
that.
have to go up again. I'm
Yes.
telling you.
And as far as the ordinances that I wanted to bring up is I'm gonna get with the committee on that. So right now, I don't have nothing else.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next up is annual permit for outdoor dining.
Oh, yes, we have a lot of restaurants, which is great. They have the table and chairs outside, and we had a restriction that they couldn't use plastic. It had to be metal. Okay, so it's nice, so appearance wise. But the thing is, they only had to pay when they applied one time. I feel that they should have an annual fee. If you want to have table and chairs outside, you have to pay an annual fee. Just like they do for the machines that we have, like a
The amusement tax.
amusement tax. Let's do it, I don't want to call it table tax, but I mean, think of something more
I
creative.
mean, a
than
lot
table
of
tax.
municipalities have a food truck tax or a food truck
Something.
permit fee.
Yeah, we need to
so,
generate
yeah.
something because, I mean, it is, I see it as, I love it. I think it's great, but it's sort of like a privilege that you're able to have your table and chairs outside.
I've also heard a lot of complaints about people in wheelchairs having to navigate around those tables and stuff. And so,
Enough space,
yeah,
I
it should. I agree.
I'm more worried about the accessibility part of it because I've heard the same complaint. That's, there's a couple notable businesses where it's an issue where you can't pass through with a stroller or a wheelchair. I'm less concerned about taxing people each year because they have the opportunity to sell and serve food outdoors versus indoors, because there's no indoor table tax. Why would there be an outdoor table tax? I'd rather promote businesses having business versus.
I mean, the table tax would help, keep sidewalks in good condition because now they have metal table legs being scraped across them, or they're being used in a manner that they weren't designated, designed for.
It was just.
Like
a
sidewalks
thought.
are meant for walking, not for dragging heavy metal tables across when you want to put your tables in the winter, drag them back out in the summer, or if people are moving them around, that causes damage to the sidewalks. Unnecessary damage that wouldn't necessarily be caused if you're just walking on them.
Solicitor, whose responsibility is it for the paving, the upkeep of the sidewalk?
Generally, it's the property owner's responsibility to maintain the
building.
sidewalk. Plow it.
Keep
and
free of
everything else.
debris. It's all it
So
was
it-
downtown.
As long as you enforce that against the
So I don't know, it was just a thought. It's not to punish anyone. It's just so they keep up with the appearances, so they don't revert to plastic. It's just,
Actually, I think
Aesthetics.
when we first did that, it was that they were precluded from having glass outside.
yeah, I think you're right. Something did that.
Yeah.
That sounds right. I mean, really, safety wise, that makes sense. That really does make sense. I don't know if you want to toss it around. it's just,
Keep it in the, keep it in the back of our pocket. We'll, keep thinking about it.
Sure. And like I said, it's not a punishment. I'm not mentioning it to be a punishment. It's just,
No, I see where you're coming from, and
Yeah.
I agree with it somewhat, because also, I mean, there's a lot of loitering laws, and if there's 30 people staying outside of the establishment smoking cigarettes at the tables, that's technically loitering.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not inside the business, you're outside.
That's
People
true.
have to walk through that or wheelchair through that cloud of whatever, so.
Plus, you can find a lot of litter too,
Yeah.
because of the outdoor dining.
I'm with Joey, though. I'm leaning toward handicap accessibility or wheelchair accessibility, and it impeding that and having to force someone who has a disability to wheel out into the street
Oh, yeah. See, I
to
can't-
go around
Yeah.
people that are sitting there having.
I can't think of any
Cigar.
establishment that would have been created. Or you think something in particular, Joey?
Well,
For
I
that
mean,
instance?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any, because there's only a couple places that,
I'll tell you when I
the
was,
Thai place maybe.
I volunteered to water the plants one week, and I had to push that cart.
Oh, okay.
And the tables where the Thai place is, can't push that cart around the tables.
It's
I had
snug
to
as
push
a
it out
bug, yeah.
into the street. So, and I was thinking while I was pushing that cart, this cart's not much bigger than a wheelchair. If I had a wheelchair, I would have to go down into the street and then back up onto the sidewalk by Billy K's. That's a big safety issue.
Well, we can revisit it. I don't want to take up any more.
Yeah,
time.
I'm not singling out one business. I'm showing an example
Share,
of
yeah,
a personal
yeah.
experience that I experienced.
Yeah, it's tight.
All right, moving on to information and announcements. Newsletter, Chamber of Commerce, Historical Society, and Twin Borough Ministries. Lorenzo.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. Newsletter. We're currently working on the winter / holiday newsletter, and this is going to cover December, January, and February. So the ads and the articles have to be in by Tuesday, November 1st. And I know there's going to be a lot of things that need to come in because there's going to be a lot going on during the holiday season. So if you can please have your articles to our editor, Mr. Donald Ward, by Tuesday, November 1st, that would be great. And also as early as possible too, really helps with the printing. Right now, the newsletter should probably be in your mailbox possibly tomorrow. Everything went in early enough. So please get your items, your ads and your articles in early. Chamber of Commerce, they'll be starting their meetings again. Meeting will be Tuesday, September 20th, and that will be at 7 p.m. here in the Borough Building. Verona Historical Society, meetings are starting up again, and the September meeting will be on September 15th at 7 p.m. here in the building. And the speaker is going to be Dick Williams, who is a member of our Historical Society and also a member of the Oakmont Historical Society. And Mr. Williams is going to be speaking on Pennsylvania Main Line Canal from Pittsburgh to Johnstown. All are welcome, and it's certainly free to everyone to come. It's a great night. You learn so much, things we never knew that even existed here in our area. So we extend an invitation to all. And we always have refreshments, and Rhoda always gets a couple people a free gift. We do a raffle. So thank you, Rhoda. Twin Borough Ministries, tomorrow evening, we here at council will be sponsoring the dinner, and it will be from 4:30 till 6:30. And again, we are, as a council, hosting the dinner. And I do want to put a thank you out to all our members that are donating for this. During the contribution, we all pitch in and pay for the dinner. So I do need money by tomorrow, folks, because we gotta get everything paid. And I want to put a special thank you out to Mr. Donald Ward, who was good enough to go pick up all the food and has already delivered it to the church. So Don, thank you very much. That was a big help. If anyone wants to help in the kitchen tomorrow, they'd like you to be there at 4 p.m. And under A-Law, Allegheny League of Municipalities, the thing that's on the schedule right now is we are invited, and anyone that would like to go is invited to a sporting clay shoot. And that's going to be Friday, September the 9th at the Promised Land Sporting Clays. So if you're interested in going, you'll have to call 26412-261-2521 to make your reservation. And with autumn coming up very shortly, there's going to be many, many educational classes. And as they come available, I will certainly share them with you. If anyone has any comments or questions, I'll be glad to take them. And if not, this concludes my reports. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Next, we have comments on August events throughout the community. Mayor Kukrow.
Yeah, real quickly, I know it seemed like August was a pretty good month. Like other months, the Garden Club, I know they met. They have like a meet and greet, I guess, and the Chambers had their meet and greet. And there's business people from all over, actually the valley that I've been to several of them. I missed that one. The car cruise was 170 cars. I had to open up the field. It was fantastic. And Vince, I couldn't make the wrestling, but I did ride by about 8:30, 8:45, and the field was packed. A lot of nice events.
Thank you for doing that.
Thanks to all. to make, these
I mean,
events
Tim, too.
work. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have Battle in the Borough Wrestling Event Wrap Up, Mr. Flota.
Yeah, this is just a quick recap of the event. It was mentioned earlier that we paid $1,650 for the KSW Pro Wrestling event. I want to make sure everybody knows that that money was actually raised last year from last year's event. So that did not come out of anything other than ticket sales from last year. This year, we sold 236 tickets for $10 a ticket with a grand total of $2,360 in ticket sales and minus $1,650 for the event. And we actually still owe $118 for the PA state gaming tax. But once you subtract those two fees from the 2,360, we still have a grand total after all payments made of $592 with the event made. So we could put that toward future Parks and Rec events, future wrestling events. So that's just a brief recap of what Parks and Rec did. LVAF raised $100 for the bike derby, $100 for the Valley EMS, and $100 for the Verona Fire Department. So it turned out to be pretty good. I mean, there was probably over 300 some people there. Only 236 paid tickets, but all the firemen got in for free. All the EMS workers got in for free. School of Rock got in for free, and all the volunteers, we probably 35 volunteers. So that took the attendance up to well over 300, but 236 sold tickets is pretty good.
So what was the cost per dollar raised?
Huh?
What was the cost per dollar raised then?
Raised total after expenses, $592.
No, the cost per dollar raised for the event just in general.
How much it costs?
The cost per dollar? No, right.
What do you mean?
I guess the cost per dollar raised.
I don't know what that meant.
We didn't do that math yet. Yeah, it's not really a fundraiser. So, I mean, it's a fundraiser for LVAF, but for the borough, it's just an event. We hope we make enough money to fund the event the following year. So as long as we break even, it's a good thing.
Vince, that was nice that you guys also donated, because the bike derby is so important. The fire hall, of course, is important.
We've been doing it since year one. Tim wanted it to Tim and Parks and Rec wanted it to recognize, use it as a platform to recognize first responders and people that help in our community. We also did recognize Shirley Davis for all her contributions.
Oh, good.
She cried.
I bet. We were out of town.
Yeah, it's all right. I printed her out a little certificate. It was very unofficial, but I put
That's
it in a
okay.
frame and handed it to her and thanked her for all the volunteer work she does in the town. And
I'm
as she
glad
accepted
you
the award, went right back into the concession stand and started selling hamburgers.
Oh,
again.
good.
So,
There you go. There you go. That was good. That was good.
just want me to go right into the next line.
Sure.
LVAF has donated a flat screen TV, 40-inch flat screen TV, and the mounting hardware to the Verona Borough for installation into the Cribs concession stand. Been talking about this since before it was built. Parks and Rec was talking about it. We've been talking about amenities to add with Matt and for a long time now. This was passed months ago, but we went out and purchased it so it would be there for the wrestling event because there was also a Steeler preseason game that day. So we wanted to make sure that there was an outlet for people that wanted to watch the Steeler game there. And I have a receipt to give to Christine for the donations.
Thank you.
All the other stuff is just the highlighted stuff. So if it's okay with council to accept that donation, and I will get with DPW on how installation will happen in the near future. That sounds good to everybody.
Yep.
Thank you.
We don't
Thank you.
reject
Thanks to
donations.
LVAF.
I mean, we figured it would, putting a TV in there would save resources also. We could, instead of LVAF and RAA and whoever else is running, instead of them printing out menus for every event, because the prices change every 3 months now with inflation. So
that's a great
prices are
idea.
constantly going up, menus constantly need to be printed. This has a USB port on the back. You could just put a graphic on and digitally display your menus or whatever things you need to display if you're.
So anyone that uses the pavilion, just lift up on the concession stand, and it's inside, you can just see.
Yeah, it'll be mounted on the wall behind one of the windows. And if somebody rents a concession stand, they can just turn it on and we talk to the police. It's a smart TV. So if somebody has a Netflix app or a Hulu app and they do rent the building, they can sign in on their app. It's already connected to the internet. Christine talked to the police chief and it won't interfere with anything up there. So it's just a big step into the future as far as, a couple years ago, we had a push pin sign on the corner and it was falling apart and Janet was fighting with it every week. And now we have a digital sign there and now we'll have some digital stuff in the building too. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next, we have an update on the Arch Street closure for September 24th.
Yeah, I heard from Dory, and their rowing event was canceled for September because the Cincinnati team was unable to make it to Pittsburgh. So Arch Street will not be closed that weekend in September, but the event may be pushed to October pending that other team's availability to make it to town. And she'll provide an update should they, be able to reschedule. That's it.
All right, thank you. Next, council will hear comments from the public at this time. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
So this is comment on any general topic that you want to talk about.
This is still on. I'm Mike Rabacki, 716 Allegheny River Boulevard. Just a couple very brief comments. The health and safety fee, I don't know, maybe it could be more descriptive, such as the overflow garbage tax, and so we know what it is. And it could be a true user tax, which is, how a tax should be a user tax. So we could document or estimate the yearly charges. Just divide that by the number of households, and that's your fee. It could be on a sliding scale and change every year, but that would be the exact, plus maybe administrative costs, but that would be the exact amount that we would know. So there isn't any slush money floating around. The other thing with this sidewalk ordinance is for public access, maybe in front of restaurants, there should be, I don't know how wide the squares are on sidewalks, they might be 4 feet wide, but I would think for public access, there would always need to be at least that 4 foot, whatever it is, section so people can get by. And then beyond that, if it's wider, then perhaps that would be, tables that you can set up. That seemed to make sense to, as a member of the public. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
One more person approaching podium in person. We have a person with their hand raised virtually after her.
So, hi, everyone. Nancy Carpenter, 222 Arch Street. I don't have a whole lot that I can say without breaking down from everything that happened this evening. Just want to express my thanks to everyone, but to the 3 of you who are resigning for your service. And I'm just gonna, I guess, cherish the memories that I have with each one of you. So I could say so much more, but I'm not going to do that or I'll be a mess. But I am feeling a lot of emotions and I need to sort that out. So thanks again. I'm sorry to see you guys go. I just wanted to ask a question maybe for the solicitor. I'm sure a lot of people in the public are wondering, how does council function? Like, I know you didn't say a date, Joey. But there's, from my recollection, a lot of things that need to happen. We had resignations during my time on council, and there's needs to be appointments, need to figure out who's gonna be president, who's gonna be vice president, especially as it relates to signatures. So Craig, in this situation with both the president and vice president resigning, could you just briefly tell us like what happens next and how does it happen?
Sure. So the process is no different than when there were vacancies in office during your tenure. The process is that the resignation is accepted. And once the resignation is accepted, there's 30 days to fill that resignation. If it fails to get filled at the council level, it then goes before what's called the vacancy board. The vacancy board consists of a vacancy board chairperson that's appointed in January, and the remaining members of council. If the vacancy board fails to appoint somebody, then it goes out to town upon petition of the vacancy board. But the bottom line is that it needs to get filled within 30 days, and council has never not filled it within 30 days. They can choose to take letters of interest if they want to. There's no requirement for that in the borough code. They can choose to come in here the day they accept the resignation and appoint somebody. Though I fully expect this council will probably take letters of intent in some form or another. With regard to the president and vice president, it's like the vacancy on council. There's now a vacancy in the presidency and the vice presidency, or at least there will be, at least tomorrow, for the president. And the way to fill that is you reorganize. You reorganize council, you take nominations for president, you take nominations for vice president, you move along. It's a 7-member board. Without them, it's still a 7-member board. A quorum of 7 is 4. So you need 4 people to conduct business. And then a majority of the 4 is what passes the business.
Well, now with this situation with letters of interest, what are we gonna do for the next 2 weeks except letters of interest? Do we have a deadline?
Well,
I
that's
know
up,
30 days, but I mean,
that's up to this board. If the
Okay.
board wants to say today, let's get it out on the website
right,
and have the letters in, by,
certain date.
if you're looking to appoint in 2 weeks, you're gonna need those letters in within 10 days so that you can review them and be ready to appoint on the second Tuesday in September.
Is it the will of council that we want to accept letters?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think
is it
that's-
also the will of council that Christine can put it on the website and advertise for
Sure,
it tomorrow?
sure.
Yes.
Or
I think this needs to be expedited as fast as
Mhm.
possible.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Most
we-
definitely.
yeah,
So within 10 days, they must be submitted.
Yes.
sure.
They would need to be submitted by September 9th if you want me to distribute them.
That's fine.
Okay, September 9th is perfect.
Starting tomorrow, since
Starting,
there's probably people
Sure.
online that are interested or
okay.
somewhere.
Christina put it on the website. I'm sure that the social media people will get it out on social media.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
now do that,
It's Verona.
do we only accept people that put letters of interest or somebody that comes down that night?
Oh, no, letters of interest is more.
I'm just
formal.
asking, you know.
Again, that's a council
Well, it's our-
prerogative.
it's
There
our
are no
decision
rules.
anyway, so-
But I would suspect that, you want somebody that put a letter in.
I would suspect, right.
Well, I
Now,
mean, unless-
who's running the meeting, or if something comes up, who's going to run it now?
So you'll need to appoint if you haven't already done that, and I thought there was a time when the 2 of you weren't here and we appointed a pro temp.
It was Sylvia.
Oh, yeah,
It was when,
It
it
was
was
Sylvia.
when
Sylvia
I
ran the
was
meeting.
when we were reorganizing and I became president in.
No, I'm talking about
It was
recently.
Sylvia ran the one.
It was
Just
Sylvia.
recently ran the meeting.
It was
But in
Sylvia.
2021, when I became president and we took nominations for vice president, Dave became vice president. I also took nominations and a vote for president pro tem. And at that time, it was Sylvia. but that was in 21. I don't know if that runs out in 22.
What I'm saying is that we did this recently.
It was
and
Sylvia.
This board appointed Sylvia.
Yes, Sylvia already ran a meeting 2 months ago because
Yeah.
because they both were on vacation.
Right,
And
right.
she was pro temp.
But did you guys vote her as pro temp?
I believe in January, I think we did.
Anyway.
Well, the bottom line is Sylvia's running the meeting.
Yeah.
Unless it changes.
We just thought it was a-
She just.
Temporarily, she's running the meeting. There you go.
Okay, and then, so then, at the next meeting, you guys will nominate and vote for president, vice president. at
Well,
that time.
hopefully by the 13th.
It's all council prerogative. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna happen on that day, but there aren't specific rules. They have to be appointed within 30 days after accepting the resignation. So the resignation's most likely gonna get accepted that Tuesday, okay? Now, we'll have letters of letters of intent in. So chances are, somebody's gonna get appointed that day, but it doesn't have to.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, let's say new people are not appointed, then do they still need to do who's president, who's vice president at the next meeting if there's only 5?
They could still reorganize council
Do
and appoint a
whatever we
vice
want.
president or president.
Okay, just asking.
I've already answered it though, I'm sorry.
It's late. That's why no one's absorbing.
Thank you, Solicitor. Thank you, Nancy.
We have 2 members of the public with comments. We have the first person with their hand up was Nathan Stemmer.
Hi, am I coming through?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nathan Stimmel, 854 First Street. I want to extend thanks and a show of appreciation to Christine and Dave and Joey. I'm very saddened to see the 3 of you moving on, although I certainly understand given the circumstances. I want to say this is, I'm not going to lie, this is a disappointing place to be in at this point in kind of the borough's functioning after, seeing the transformation and the progress that's been made over the past few years and how much effort has been put in toward moving the ball down the field and turning Verona into more of a functional and competent small town government. I don't want to dwell on that. I mean, it's true what they say about 2 steps forward. I just want to focus on that 2 steps forward and say thank you, the 3 of you, for the role that you have played in making that more of a reality, and also just to the rest of council, to the remaining members of council on the dais, I wish you all the luck in the world moving forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nate.
We have our second person online virtually with their hand up is Dan Showalter.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Dan Showalter, 440 North Avenue. Unfortunately, very tumultuous meeting there, but I would like to put a positive note on tonight. Starting this past Thursday, we have the largest incoming kindergarten class for Riverview in over 20 years. We have 29 students at Verner and 70 at 10th Street, which tells us, at least from what I can tell, it means we have a lot of younger families moving in, but it also means we have a lot of younger families staying in Verona and staying in Oakmont. Things are on the upswing. So even though tonight might be a little bit of a downer, our future is looking bright, folks. So just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Any other comments from the public in person or virtually?
No other hands raised online.
All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion, Dave.
Second.
All right, first by Mr. Provenza, second by Mr. Flota. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Thank you all. Have a very good night.